All right, welcome back to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. If you need a roof, make sure you call Ireland Contracting. They're the best in the business. Everyone needs a roof, like Gene says. And if I needed a roof, that's who I would call, 1-800-NEW-ROOF. It's an easy number to remember, and they are #1 in Pittsburgh, so give them a call. Give us a call at 412-575-2600, the number on the Bordis and Bordis hotline. We're talking about Pirates draft. They're in the they just finished up the first round, and now they have those compensatory picks and competitive balance picks going on right now. The Pirates draft 37th overall. They drafted 18th overall and selected a right-handed pitcher named Quinn Priestler. Is that what it was? Quinn Priester. Quinn Priester. Supposed to be a pretty good pitcher out of Cary Grove High School in Illinois. Let's go out to Chuck out in Uniontown. What's up, Chuck?
Good evening.
Hey, Chuck.
Rich, Gene, thank you.
Thanks for calling, Chuck.
Yeah, one thing about the current Pirates is that I'm afraid that the road record is going to deteriorate before more likely to deteriorate than the home record will improve. But, I mean, my biggest question overall is the draft. Do you think that the Pirates scouting system needs to be upgraded? Because there's been too many glaring failures. And, you know, about 5 years ago, the Pirates farm system was declared to be one of the best, if not the best, in baseball. But now it's pretty much depleted, and that Archer trade didn't help any. Also, do you think that with the emphasis on a lot of hitting in this draft, do you think that the Pirates, although I know pitching is important, do you think that the Pirates will go more for hitting? Because they also need a bunch of run producers. They don't have a whole lot of those in the minor leagues. What are your thoughts on those, please?
Hey, thanks a lot, Chuck. I appreciate you calling. You know, they have a couple guys in the minors that can hit. Will Craig, Ke'Bryan Hayes, a couple first-round draft picks that were pretty good. I mean, when you look at this draft, they're at 18th. You know, the one thing I say about Major League Baseball, and I don't know if you think this way, Gene, but, you know, the Pirates finish always in the middle of the pack. I mean, not always, but lately. And I don't know if you can get the high-end prospect at 18. I mean, I think that's where that is top 5, top 4, right? If you want a good hitting prospect. Pedro Alvarez looked like he was going to be a good hitting prospect, and then he just lost his mind.
Yeah, no, I think you can get quality pitchers and really good hitters at almost any point in the baseball draft. It's that much of again, a crapshoot. As for Chuck's question, and it's a good one, I think Neil Huntington said on his weekly radio show yesterday that the game is headed toward a time when you'll see a lot more 12-10 games than you will 2-1 games. And that indicates to me that the Pirates might be looking at a little bit of a change in their philosophy as to who they pick. But, you know, as to whether or not their scouting has to be reevaluated, everybody's position on the team, you know, is reevaluated every single year. I mean, that's part of the nature of the business.
Yeah, well, I mean, our producer, Steve Banco, just pointed out that Mike Trout was picked, 22nd overall?
Yeah, right.
Or 25th overall. So, yeah, I mean, obviously he's the best hitter in the draft and the best hitter in baseball, and so many teams passed on him. But, yeah, you know, it's hard to follow the Major League Baseball draft because there's 40 rounds and there's so much talent with high school kids all over the country. It's much easier to follow the football draft.
Yeah, and then you have the international draft, which is a completely separate thing.
Yeah, so, I mean, you're right. It's a crapshoot.
25% of the players.
But do you think, the one thing Chuck said, do you think that they should maybe look at revamping their scouting department?
They look at that every year. I mean, like we had a question on the show the other night, Rich, about whether or not, you know, they should look at the training staff now that there are so many injuries. Well, yeah, I mean, but those things are done annually at every level of the organization, and people like Neil Huntington and Frank Cooley have to make those judgments every year. I mean, you have to evaluate those decisions too.
All right, Mike out in Oakland. What's up, Mike? How you doing?
Richie, what's up, my friend? How you doing?
Thanks for calling.
Hi, Gene. How are you too? So here's a couple comments mixed in with a question. I don't understand why, and I'm really passionate about this point. So why in 2013 to 15 there was record attendance, the payroll increased, they preached the fact that if the people show up, they're going to increase attendance. They had 98 wins in 2015, and the payroll was $100 million roughly. And then Nutting basically destroyed the team, didn't add on. Payroll has decreased every year, and then they go with the same spin. Oh, well, there's not enough people coming anymore, so we can't increase the payroll. I mean, why isn't that focused on with the sports media? Because to me, the guys, the whole organization just lies to the fans, and they're not spending any money. So, yeah, we can get lucky at a nice couple draft picks down the road, but, the payroll is now close to $70 million. I mean, you can't do much with that. And
Mike, let me interrupt you real quick. I asked all the Pirates officials and front office people in Nutting about the payroll and I asked them all these questions, and they spin it. If whatever those questions have been asked and we talked about, they're not going to change. Bob Nutting runs it like a business. That's what he does. He runs this like a business. He doesn't run it like a fan. And I think a lot of fans.
What happened to the $50 million Disney money? I mean, that money could have been used, at least half of it, towards upgrading the team. I mean, where did it go?
They'll spin it by saying they want to see these young guys come up together. They think they got a really good outfield. That's how he spun those questions. I don't want to break up the outfield that we have with Dickerson, Marte, and Polanco, and we got a good core young group, good core pitching staff. They'll find a way to spin every one of those questions, and I don't think it's a coincidence that you look at the attendance drop, and that's how that if you equate that, let's say each person's about $40. You would think that's a good average, and you equate that to attendance, and you look at the payroll, and that's where so they're down 40. They're down like 500,000 or whatever. That's 20 million, and their payroll's down 20 million from last year, essentially.
So, Rich, one last point, and then I'll let you. I know I'm talking a lot, but I want to get this off my chest. When is Neil Huntington and Frank Coonelly? I mean, forget Nutting for a second. When are they going to be held accountable? I mean, the drafts have been terrible recently. They don't develop anyone. The promising Marte and Polanco duo have been, in my opinion, way underachieved, haven't been great. And, we're left with guys that are getting paid $5 to $10 million that aren't worth half of that. So, and all Huntington keeps saying is, I didn't do enough. Every year now for the past few years, he says this. Well, where's the accountability? So I'll hang up. I love you guys, and I'll listen.
Mike. I appreciate the call. Thanks for calling. One of my favorite calls, Mike, from Oakland. Yeah. And he made a lot of good points there.
Absolutely.
I think Huntington and Frank Coonelly have been held accountable. I do. But I think it all comes from from Nutting. I mean, that's their boss. So, if there's a certain agent that they don't want to deal with, they can't draft this guy like Matt Wieters. They didn't draft him because of Boris, and they don't want to deal with Boris guys. I mean, do you think that comes into play? I mean, how much blame do you put on Huntington and Coonelly?
Well, ultimately they're accountable, and I think Mike did make a lot of good points. But we can't keep going on this show just accepting this notion that the Pirates don't develop any players. Josh Bell looks like a pretty good player. Jamison Tynan won 14 games last year. He's been hurt this year. Kevin Newman looks like a good player. It's not that they don't develop any players.
Cole Tucker.
Maybe. But obviously they're accountable, but Mike said it at the beginning of the thing. I mean, Bob Nutting is not going to spend a lot of money. Neil Huntington's been hamstrung by that his entire tenure here in Pittsburgh. Yeah, he hasn't always drafted great, but he hasn't always drafted bad either. And Neil Huntington is not the problem.
Yeah, I don't think. I completely agree with you there. And, if fans complain about it, then they got to stop going to the games. They got to stop supporting it. I mean,
pretty much stopped.
Yeah, it is. But you got to even decrease that attendance already. And then, I think they're sending a clear message, don't you, Gene?
They're actually up a little bit this year with attendance. Yeah. I mean, it was at an all-time PNC Park low last year, but it's actually up a little bit this year.
Well, then if fans they're coming out, I mean, it is. I like going to the ballpark. I love going to see games, and it is frustrating.
Well, as Yogi Berra used to say, Rich, if people don't want to come to the park, nobody's going to stop them.
You're right. All right, we got to take a break. Back with more of your phone calls. Some of your tweets coming up next.